Drunk Tim is really living up to his name right now. He is mentally not, well, and physically not here. How's the weather? How's your underwear doing?
We're in first place in the frickin' Idiot League.
Two Idiots Talk Sports. Sports talk. Funny and uncensored.
Good afternoon / morning / feels like afternoon with the rain clouds out. This is Two Idiots Talk Sports, and I am Chance Delfuego here at the On the Border Studios here in Oklahoma City. And myself, producer Kenneth is here. We are enjoying some tecates and some chips and salsa. And we are here and ready to talk some sports. What a fantastic week we have had. You can look up some of our stuff. We're beginning social media. We've got Twitter at Idiots Talk. We've got an Instagram page, Two Idiots Talk Sports, and we've got a Facebook thing. I'm not gonna lie, I'm still trying to figure out the Facebook stuff. So I'm trying to just do it the right way, whatever that is. But I've got a page and I've got a thing, like a personal thing. It's one of those things. Facebook asks you for your first name and your last name. And so I'm like, well, I'm not a first name, last name. We're Two Idiots Talk Sports. So now it's, well, okay, my first name's Two Idiots and my last name is Talk Sports. How about that? Tit with the tits. That's what we are. So I've got it set up in a couple of different ways. We're trying to figure it out. Not millennial enough to figure it out just yet. I'm sorry, but we'll get there. I'm positive of it. Like I said, we are here at the On the Border Studios in Oklahoma City, and what a great week of sports talk this week. Just the sports things that are going on, but also just we're getting tossed these lobs just for things to talk about. And I have to start with the very, very first thing is we talked about in the past Zach Smith and the Ohio State scandal going on with the whole domestic abuse. Courtney Smith comes out there now, she's now an ex. She's coming out with all this stuff. She's getting with Brett McMurphy and detailing all these things that this guy has done to her in the past. Domestic violence, all these different things. She's sent pictures to coaches' wives. She's detailed conversations, including with Urban Meyer's wife. Yet he doesn't know a thing. He doesn't know anything that's happened in the course of between 2009 and 2015. All those years, all this stuff that keeps coming up, police repeatedly going to the Smith's house. He doesn't know about any of this stuff. The most laissez-faire or something like that, the most laissez-faire coach I've ever heard of. He just doesn't know. He and Pitino don't know anything about their programs. Pitino doesn't know about the hookers at Louisville. And here's Urban Meyer. He doesn't know about the domestic abuse. He doesn't know about anything. So now some more things come out, and look, the domestic violence is obviously the worst of all these offenses, but the funnier offenses come out this week. I absolutely love it. The funnier offenses come out in a report that's a little more detailed from Brett McMurphy. And this guy's a legit reporter. This guy's not coming out and making up stuff. This guy's got information, he's got facts. So this stuff's really creeping out and really showing the Zach Smith character for who he is. This guy is amazing. So the first thing that comes out, the first thing right off the top of the list I've got to start with is he reportedly he took penis pics of himself, of course. Hopefully it wasn't another dude's penis. It's his penis. I'm kidding. I don't want to throw that out. He took penis pics while he was in the White House. The Ohio State Buckeyes, of course, won the national championship, and in 2015 they were invited to the White House. Makes you wonder if Maybe that's why the Eagles didn't want to go to the White House. They didn't want to take dick pics of each other. Or, maybe that's the new thing that goes on in the White House. But this guy takes dick pics, and not only did that, but he even validates it. He takes his dick pic next to the towel. There's a towel with the presidential seal on it. And so, of course, he's taking these pics and he's sending it out, and Smith's attorney's coming out and saying, "Well, that's not his penis." Although there is also involved, there's the wedding ring, the ring, and of course his suit. There's parts of his suit that can be validated, and so right now, Zach Smith's attorney, and I imagine this has got to be a pretty difficult job. I mean, you're on his side. You're his advocate. You got to say, but he's pretty much pulling the Shaggy. It wasn't me. I mean, you're on. All this evidence is coming out, and it wasn't me. That wasn't his penis. That was somebody else's. But it's fantastic. I love it. He was. Everything comes out that leads to believe that it is authentic. He was wearing a black suit that he wore to the White House. And I'm sure she could validate whether it's his penis or not. I mean, I don't know how many differences there are, but she's able to validate, yeah, that's his. Whatever detail that she's able to do with that. So the guy's at the White House, he's doing that. But then to add even more joys and interesting things to the mix, it is also reported that Zach Smith ordered around $2,200 in sex toys, male apparel, and photography equipment, which he had sent to the Ohio State athletic offices. Because, well, I mean, you don't want to send that to the house. I don't know that the now ex-wife would have been real thrilled with that. But $2,200, that's a lot. That is a lot of money going into sex toys and things like that. It makes you wonder, what is going on at the coaching offices? Nobody knows this stuff's being delivered to the offices. Just nobody has a clue, right? Nobody understands. No, I didn't see it. I mean, somebody had to sign for it. I'm sure you don't send this much money in, sex toys and stuff like that just for so nobody to even know, like some late night UPSing going on. Oh my gosh, it's pretty funny. And then, like I said, somebody had to sign for it. Was it him? Was it someone else? It's just getting more and more ridiculous that nobody knew about any of these things. We also have details of what was in, you say, well, what kind of sex toys and what kind of male apparel? Well, we've got men's spider enhancer thong triple cock ring. That's in the detailed report there. Bodywear CS2 metallic erotic cock strap gold and snakeskin. Boy, that sounds erotic and exotic. I don't even know. This is beyond. I don't know what you do with any of this stuff. I'm not willing to spend the money to find out either. That maybe we can do like a GoFundMe, and maybe we can start a GoFundMe, and then we can do videos and pictures and things, and just kind of reenact, just to be, well, maybe not totally reenact, but like, okay, it might be cheaper to hire an artist or something. Anyway, Wildman T ball lifter red. That was in there. Candyman men's jock suspenders and more. So this guy's getting pretty freaky. One of the pictures that also came out that was detailed was he was getting head from one of the staffers at Ohio State. So, I mean, you've even got that going on. So you have like a pattern. You've got all these patterns. You've got this guy who, with the domestic violence, just within its own right, is disrespectful of his wife physically, but then he's doing these things as well. It just, I think we said before, where there's smoke, there's fire. Well, I think we've got like a wildfire going on right now. This whole thing's ablaze. And at this point, for people to go, I didn't really know about that. It just seems completely hideous. Like you're just completely ignorant, which I doubt, or you're just turning away, just so. Well, this guy, for what the grandfather, I know his grandfather, and yeah, this guy's kind of weird, but we'll keep him on staff and all that good stuff. So, I don't know. Some people respond and they say, well, I don't want that guy, obviously the guy should be fired, but they're just like, well, I wouldn't want my kids going there and learning from him. Like, I don't think he's taking the athletes in there and teaching them. I think this is all for his purpose, okay? But I don't know. I mean, there's people that do things in the shadows all the time. So I don't know that I can go that far. Well, the children of America are gonna anyway. But the guy is obviously just a real upstanding citizen, and should have been gone much quicker than here recently when it came out. But that's the case. I just love it, man. Zach Smith is just making this too easy. And you got to wonder, here as time was going on, Urban Meyer, it looked like actually may somehow, like the job may be spared, just as it seems like if you're going to be fired, it's going to happen quicker, sooner than later. But here over time now, it's just kind of been going on, and the Ohio State gave a deadline on when they were going to give the results of their investigation and what they're going to do, and then they kind of backtracked off of that, and they're saying, well, we'll get it done when we get it done, that kind of stuff, and you're just kind of wondering, like, well, is Urban going to survive this? But now this stuff comes out. I don't know. I know you want to win. I'm thinking from the perspective of Ohio State and their fans and everybody, and I know they came out and rallied him in support, which is just looks like pure ignorance, but I can't pretend like that wouldn't happen in just about any other major college town in America if something like that came out. Maybe in more progressive areas or something, but like I think a lot of college towns when they came out and supported Joe Paterno when the stuff came out about the kids at Penn State. I think that this is one of those things that big time would happen at just about, I wouldn't say all, but the majority of the universities in America, unfortunately. We're behind our guy 100%, but it's like, that doesn't look like you need to be behind the guy right now. So it's one of those things. You're not involved, but by kind of turning away and not looking, you're allowing all these things to happen. But absolutely funny to me. The attorney, and I don't know if this is an intended pun, but he said that all the gifts, all the things that came in, that they were gag gifts. Now, I don't know. He literally, gag gifts. Like, well, that's pretty expensive for some gag gifts. And anyway, it seemed like he was doing a decent job, or it sounded like with the picture he was doing the gagging anyway. I don't know that he needed a toy for that from the one picture that we were talking about. So anyway, you don't have just ridiculous what's going on up there. I really wonder if they think people forget about this. We'll just kind of move on and go on with our lives here and try to win here at Ohio State. Some other interesting things right now. We've got with this stuff going on with Ohio State. You wonder how they're going to do. Right now, a lot of people have them projected to go in the Final Four in the playoff. But if you start losing coaches, specifically Urban Meyer, you got to wonder that you got to take a few steps back, right? The Big Ten is probably we're going to end up doing our college preview hopefully next week. We'll see how that goes down. But you would think that without Urban Meyer, Ohio State would fall off the map quite a bit. And with the way the Big Ten is right now, the Big Ten, just looking at it, is so strong. You've got some great competitive teams there that any of them honestly could make a case. They might end up beating each other up, but Michigan is loaded this year, and I know that they've kind of fallen short, but Harbaugh has got it going on. He's got talent at quarterback. He's got talent on the defensive side of the ball. Michigan, they could end up being the real deal. But here's the other thing: Michigan State has also stepped up, and they're really looking good for this year too. They could play spoiler. They always play spoiler against Michigan. And then you've got Wisconsin, who's returning a ton of starters back and coached really well. And then we cannot forget about Penn State, who went 11-2 last year, and they were right there to fight for the Big Ten championship. To me, it just seems like any of those teams, we'll give our picks next week, but that's just a little taste of, the Big Ten right now is loaded. So I can't imagine if you've got all this turmoil, you've got all this controversy going on at Ohio State, I don't think you just assume that Ohio State's going to go to the Final Four. They're going to have to get past their very, very good conference, and I don't know that you do with all those setbacks. But Jim Harbaugh, he believes, reporters were talking to him, he believes that the current format is the Final Four, of course, 4-team playoff. He thinks we should go to a 16-team playoff. So I wish the other guys were here. I'd like to hear their comments on that. I'd like to hear what they think about a 16-team playoff and how that would affect things. Is that the perfect number? Is that the way to go? I know the Division II runs with that type of playoff system and seems to work all right for them, but they're Division II, so nobody cares. With Division I, it's hard for me. I could play multiple sides on this. I look at it from the viewpoint of, at the end of the day, what are we trying to do? Are we trying to put teams into a thing just so they can play some more games, or are we truly deciding who the national champion is? Well, I don't think there's 16 teams that are capable of being the national champion. And if there are, well, that speaks to parity, I guess, in college football, but maybe it's a little watered down now, because I can remember years where there were teams, you would have maybe 3 or 4 or something like that, and you're like, man, I wish they would play this team because I know that they're really good. But I can't see that there being 16 legit teams that could be national title contenders. I really think that it usually does come down to about 4. I think you can make an argument for 8. But a lot of times with those things, it's deceiving. It comes down to matchup. So just because a team matches up pretty well against another team, does that mean that they're really the best team in the country, or were they just the best team in that moment? I don't know. That could be all sorts of different arguments and stuff, because it comes down to that, I guess, in a lot of different sports. So, they didn't just match up with that team very well. So, but yeah, he thinks there should be 16 teams. I get it. It's an imperfect world right now, and with the playoff system, I get it, because there's 5 power conferences and there's only 4 teams that can get in. So inevitably, a conference gets left out. They go home and cry. They're crying in the corner, and what do you do about it? So it is imperfect. It's still kind of imperfect. If you go to 8, at least you can include all 5 conferences, and then I guess you get like the best 3 second place teams in the other conferences or something like that. 16 just seems like too much to me. That's when they start making cases for, the Boise States of the world, man, they're really good. No, they're just good at doing a fumblerooski, which still hurts me to this day, being an OU fan. That play hurts me. I was looking up different videos this week, and I watched, somebody had pulled up that play. I couldn't even watch that play. I had to immediately get off that screen. I remember watching that live, just watching Adrian Peterson. It was weird. He was getting better as the game was going on. He was just running through Boise State, and then they do those damn backyard plays to beat us, and that still hurts. That hurts to this day. Anyway, love OU, and that hurts to see that Boise State stuff. But but it happened. But they certainly don't belong in a national championship. We're going to be one of the best teams in the country type of thing. So, it just doesn't belong. The lovely Deborah is here, checking up on us, doing a fantastic job.
Do you need anything, water or anything?
No.
No?
Doing good.
I'll come back and check on you in a bit.
Thank you very much. Here in college, sticking with college football, I saw a weird deal with the mascot at Ole Miss. I don't know if anybody has looked at this or caught on. And I think it may just be for the not for the overall mascot, but just their mascot that goes on the field type of thing. Just, you know how you always have like that weird, the Phillies are a Philly, but what the hell's a Philly? And then you have the weird green monster, the green Sesame Street guy that goes out and makes people laugh. For the Oklahoma City Thunder here, we're the Thunder, but it's kind of hard to make a Thunder costume. So we settled on the Bison, Rumble the Bison. So we have a Bison. But Ole Miss, of course, the Running Rebels, there's the Confederacy and the stuff that goes on these days and the whole, the racial undertones and the thing that goes on with that. But they have now created Landshark Tony. And Landshark Tony he's really weird. If you haven't seen his photo, you need to pull him up. He's got this big cheesy grin and almost a smirk on his face, like a creeper. I would love to get a hold of that outfit and drive around one of those weird To Catch a Predator like vans. Like, it'd be hard to drive, I guess. Well, no, somebody could drive and then you open the sliding door and you're Landshark Tony. I think that would be creepy and just probably get you in jail pretty fast too if you drive by elementary schools. But Landshark Tony to me is just one of the more weird. We thought the New Orleans Pelicans mascot was weird. Landshark Tony has to be in the top 5 as far as weird, just awkward mascots out there. College, pro, doesn't matter. Just put it out there. Landshark Tony. Look it up. He might freak you out. You might have a nightmare or two, especially if you've ever been, pulled into a sliding door van. So, also in college football, let's see. We've got. Let's see. I kind of mentioned it before. We're going to try to do the college football preview next week. Myself, Chance Delfuego, Drunk Tim, and of course Blair Smith. We'll all go over things like the Pac-12, the Big 12, the Big 10, ACC, should you wipe front to back to front, and the SEC, of course, almost intentionally leaving out the SEC. You just get sick and tired of Alabama, right? It's just like, we're tired of you being there. Can't you just suck a year? Man, it's horrible. But anyway, so we're going to we're actually going to preview the upcoming season, which is coming up really fast now for the college football season. Steven Adams, since we're Oklahoma City Thunder, Steven Adams has an autobiography that's come out like a couple of weeks ago, but he has got some interesting excerpts from the book. One of the things he mentions is his love for the Thunder and the organization, and how if it's up to him, I think he realizes it's not always up to him, but if it's up to him, he'd be a Thunder player for his entire career. That he really loves it here, loves the people and everything else. So, of course, it's easy to latch on for us being a small market. We just eat that stuff up. I don't know that they do that so much in the bigger markets. They just want their guys to win and stuff like that. But here we kind of latch on to them a little bit more, to the players and stuff. We love Russell Westbrook, and we'll be quick to defend and things like that. So if somebody calls him out for whatever, we're like, hey, leave Russ alone. But Steven Adams in his autobiography does trash Reggie Jackson a little bit. Reggie Jackson was a backup guard to Nuclear Wessels, to Russell Westbrook when he was here. And I guess the Thunder as an organization, do a great job of kind of keeping things at bay. They keep things quiet. And so there's a lot of things, I think, going on behind the scenes with Reggie Jackson that we just really didn't know about, even here locally, just because, you know, we've got our ear here on the pulse and stuff, and we don't hear any of the things that go on. But it turns out Reggie Jackson was a pretty big distraction in the locker room for the Thunder. And it was the name of the book, I guess I need to put that out there. The name of the book is My Life, My Fight. And he did fire some shots at the former teammate Reggie Jackson in some of his excerpts and things. He basically calls Reggie Jackson a fool for thinking that he should start over Russell Westbrook, and which that does seem incredibly silly if you're looking back now. And also that basically the Thunder forgot about him pretty quickly following his trade to the Detroit Pistons. You know, you look at what Reggie Jackson's done with the Pistons so far, and it's been mediocre at best. He has flashes. He has moments where you're like, oh, that guy's a pretty good athlete, but come on. He's not Russell Westbrook. Russell Westbrook's one of the top 5 players in the entire world right now. The guy is athletically off the charts. He does things that a lot of a lot of athletes can't even do. He's out of this world. Now, I mean, he's got his limitations like everybody else. He struggles at the three-point shot. Sometimes he takes questionable shots, but it's who he is. He's very aggressive, and he's got a very aggressive style of play. So that's who he is. But Reggie Jackson's not even close. He's not even sniffing the jockstrap of Russell Westbrook. And Steven Adams, he didn't say that, but but yeah, basically saying, yeah. Let's see. He said we want to work every day with someone who wanted to be somewhere else, because Reggie, since he wasn't starting, he wanted to leave. When he was finally traded to the Detroit Pistons, we forgot about him pretty quickly because we had new guys to welcome to the team. So, I mean, yeah, it's pretty funny to me. Steven Adams he's really not afraid to just tell it and stuff. I think the guy's really cool. I like him a lot. But he also mentions a story about Greg Popovich when that's pretty interesting. He mentioned that he's always wanted to hug Greg Popovich, and that he finally got his chance after the Spurs knocked the Thunder out of the Western Conference Finals in 2014. And I just feel like I really need to read this excerpt because I feel like it's really good. I almost want to try to do it in a Steven Adams voice, but I know I would totally, absolutely destroy it. So you'll have to hear it in my voice. It says, being knocked out of the finals was heartbreaking, but at the same time, I was a rookie who had been able to play a lot in an amazing playoff run with one of the best teams in the league. I wasn't exactly sulking. As we went through and said good luck to all of the Spurs guys in their final series rematch against the Heat, I dialed in on Pop and made sure he didn't leave before I could embrace him. When I finally got my arms around him, mate, it was beautiful. I just held that legendary man and got a quick sniff of his hair. He smelled lovely. Don't act like you wouldn't do exactly the same thing if you had the chance. That's awesome. Isn't that awesome? I mean, I don't know. That is just awesome. It's like you don't see it coming, but then it's Steven Adams saying it, and it's just there's something about him. There's just something where you're just like, oh, okay. He sniffed his hair. He wanted to embrace Greg Popovich so much. Even after a loss in Western Conference Finals. That is absolutely hilarious to me. Oh, man. Oh, let's see. Moving on. Earlier in the week, the mayor of Philadelphia, they was basically asked, oh, what is up?
How you doing?
Dude, come in here. This is perfect. I was just about to bring up the Philadelphia Eagles. No. The mayor of Philadelphia was asked who should start, Carson Wentz or Nick Foles, because and that's the worry, because Nick Foles is now Super Bowl MVP, right? And you now got Carson Wentz, who came off of injury and stuff. What do you think?
Man, there's no doubt. Carson needs to start, man. What are you talking about, Chingon? He needs to start, man.
I don't know. Carson Wentz is not the Super Bowl MVP.
Did you get to see any of the preseason game the other night?
Yes, I did.
He looks old. He looked older than last year already.
Nick Foles?
Yeah, man. There's no doubt, Chingon. Carson Wentz needs to start. If he doesn't start, I'm going to be so pissed off, Chingon.
I think Nick Foles made it easier for you. He got injured, so he got a little bit easier of a decision.
I actually like the other guy. The rookie was he a rookie?
Who?
Number 7.
Oh,
he played like all after they took Nick Foles. They started this what's his name? Seinfeld, something like that.
Yeah, I'll have to look it up. I didn't even know they had a third stringer. So
he's good.
Okay.
I like him more now than Nick Foles already.
Oh, man. Well, that's not the normal Philly fans take, but the mayor, I know the mayor said he would like to see Nick Foles start. You know, that's always the tough thing with football, and they wonder why these quarterbacks don't try to train up the younger guys as a quarterback, because obviously you could lose your job in a heartbeat. Just ask Drew Brees. Or no, Drew Brees, my God. Drew Bledsoe to Tom Brady. How did that work out? Like, it's like, oh, I got injured. Yeah, you just lost your job. You lost your career. Now you're going to go be a journeyman. I mean, that happens. That stuff happens all the time. That's why a lot of these guys are pretty leery. That's why when there was this controversy about, well, Tom Brady didn't really help Jimmy Garoppolo very much when he was there. No, why should he? He's fighting for his own job. It's sad to say it that way, but unfortunately, that if the NFL had a different culture and environment to it, maybe they could be that way. But NFL's cutthroat. It really is. You could lose your job today. I mean, just that fast. So what do you do now? And so you've kind of created that monster, so to speak. But it seems to me like it's going to play out okay. I don't think there'll be a ton of controversy. I think the worst people about it will be if anything goes wrong, will be the stinking Philadelphia fans, if anything. Just because they're so nuts, man. They're so crazy. But even Nick Foles, who's real humble, I mean, I think he's totally fine. The guy thought about retiring a year or two ago. So I think he's fine with playing the backup role. And, of course, like I mentioned, he just got injured in preseason games. I don't know how long he's going to be out, but I think it's going to be pretty obvious Wentz is going to start and all's going to be well. And let's not forget the Philly offense was just ripping people to shreds last year with Wentz at the helm. So it's hard to say what would happen if he was still healthy and in the playoffs. We don't know what they would have done offensively. Could have been even better. We don't know. But we'll find out this year. But yeah, that's why these quarterbacks, these guys don't train up their replacement. It's not like the normal business world. The normal business world, you're taught, hey, if you train the people under you, then you can now, and then you do this, you can move up, and you've basically trained your replacement, and now you've got this system. It's just not like that. Not in the NFL and not in pro sports, because there's such a tight window. You can only do football for 10 years. I mean, the average career span's maybe 2-3 years. I think it is like 3 years on average. I mean, you ain't got time to train up anybody. You gotta survive. You really have to survive the landscape and be able to play and do the thing in that little bit of time, and then you're gone. You're off to do other ventures. So, speaking of different ventures, this came out, and this just blows my mind, and it speaks to how incredibly intelligent the athletes are. We've talked a little bit at length about LeBron James and him moving to Los Angeles and all the different productions and things that he's got going on. And we know that was a business decision to move to LA and to not just finish his career there, maybe win a title, but also to move on and build his brand and everything else in LA. And we can see one of the reasons why now. It came out this week, Kobe Bryant, who it turns out is just, I know he's like a polarizing guy. People love him or hate him. But one thing you've got to admit about Kobe Bryant, the guy is extremely intelligent. He speaks multiple languages, and he looks like, as far as a business mind, he's very good. 4 years ago, he invested about $6 million into this little drink thing that was coming up, up and coming, called Body Armor. Body Armor got bought and is now officially a Coca-Cola product. The value of what he invested, the $6 million, 4 years ago, is now worth a little over $200 million. So, say what you want about Kobe Bryant and some of these athletes, but I'll tell you what, right now, they are very smart. They are doing it can't be just him. Excuse me. He's got to have some very intelligent people around him helping as well. But to turn $6 million in 4 years to over $200 million, and by the way, it's not stopping there. Body Armor is still kind of rising. It's kind of like the next Gatorade. It's supposed to be healthier. It's this and that. I mean, Body Armor, I know that they promoted a lot on, I think it's Barstool Sports. Not that, giving them a promo, but I know they promoted a lot. But it's only going to go up in value. They're thinking in the next year or two it's going to go up to over $400 million. I mean, we're talking about a $6 million investment. Now, I know I don't have that much change, but it's one of those things I wish I did and could turn it into that. But it's just incredibly intelligent. Like LeBron, when he, like with this Blaze Pizza stuff that we talked about, he put in maybe $1 million, if that, into Blaze Pizza, and now it's become millions. It's not like the Kobe Bryant, not like the Body Armor thing, but it's grown into this major return on investment. And then, even the Beats by Dre, he ended up making like $30 million off of that investment when Beats by Dre came out with the headphones and all that stuff. Who would have figured? I mean, who would have figured that headphones would come out and be as big? It's just one of those things. It's anticipation. Anticipation is the key. If you can anticipate something and jump on it, you are going to ride it and you're going to be incredibly successful. That's just all there is to it. It's awesome. This week also, something interesting. Jalen Ramsey came out in a GQ article and basically just called out all sorts of quarterbacks. Basically, he's just started. He just kind of started this rant on quarterbacks, and it's pretty funny because there's some of them that he just flat out calls out, and like one of them he talks about. Like Eli Manning, I guess that's a big one to mention. He talks about Eli Manning and basically that Eli is only halfway decent because he has Odell Beckham Jr. as his wide receiver, that basically OBJ is what makes Eli Manning even relevant. I think that's pretty funny. He says Andrew Luck is okay. He says that Josh Allen is crap. That's the new quarterback the Buffalo Bills just drafted. He says Baker Mayfield may be okay. But there's just a lot of quarterbacks he trashes. Says Deshaun Watson will be great. Mariota's all right. He does. He just kind of just goes through the whole list. Tannehill's garbage, all that kind of stuff, and I think it's interesting because we don't normally see a lot of that, and it's funny because when we see guys that come out and talk like that, you're quick to want to take a side. There's times where we want our athletes to not say anything, but then there's the other side where we want our athletes to be just open and honest and say everything. And so you got people that kind of just take whatever side. They're like, oh, that guy should just shut up and play football, just to almost steal from what the one Fox News lady said about LeBron James. Just shut up and play basketball. Yeah, he had gone as far as saying Joe Flacco sucks. And, I'll be honest, there's just a lot of things that he comes out and says there really is a lot of truth to it because, he studies it from the viewpoint of being a corner. And so, he's studying the film, he sees what's going on. And let's just face it, Flacco, since the 2012 season when they won the Super Bowl with Ray Lewis and all that, he got the huge extension because of winning the Super Bowl. And that was probably his best. You put together a grouping of games and things. That playoffs, he was good. He was about as good as he'll ever get. And he hopped on that opportunity, that's for sure. He got the great contract, and he has been crap ever since. I plays fantasy football, and I'll tell you, nobody ever takes Joe Flacco. Not even out of desperation. I don't think, I'll be honest, in the years that I've done fantasy football, it hasn't been that long. I think it's been only 5-6 years now. 5 years. I've never seen anybody take Flacco. I've never seen anybody pull up Flacco off waivers because their quarterback got hurt or anything like that. You don't get Flacco. He doesn't produce. The guy does not give you numbers. And you're like, well, that's fantasy. But fantasy at least is numbers. It is dealing with some numbers. It's passes, yards, touchdown passes. And let's just face it, he doesn't do a lot of that. He doesn't. They end up usually running the football for a touchdown if they do score. Their offense is usually lackluster, and that's why if anybody ever gets anybody off of the Ravens team, it's the kicker, Justin Tucker. It's because he's constantly kicking field goals, and he's great at it. So the most points you're going to get if you get a Ravens player is the dang kicker. That's pretty telling. I think all of that is really telling to the fact that the offense stinks. And I think they are getting a little antsy in Baltimore about maybe moving on, even if he's not ready, but moving on to Lamar Jackson, who is improving in preseason, by the way. We gave him shit for the first week, but he is actually improving. He's not great. You could still tell he's not NFL ready, so to speak. He really is not. But start losing a few games in Baltimore, fans get a little antsy. I could see Lamar, not even due to injury, I can see Lamar Jackson going onto the field this season and being the quarterback for the Ravens, just to change it up. Sometimes teams are like, damn it, we need to win. Fans want to win. Let's go. And you put him out there. I could totally see that happening. Hard Knocks episode was pretty awesome this week. It's funny, keeping up with this stuff every day and watching the preseason games, you almost feel a little behind. Like that second episode of Hard Knocks just feels like it was an eternity ago. It's about 5 days ago. But now we've had another preseason game since that. And so it's kind of behind on that. And then they'll show it on Tuesday night again on HBO from what just happened with this week. So it's kind of like this show. Like all these things are happening in the week, and then we're talking about it on Sunday. It's like, damn, dude, that was way back on Monday. And I know this is my first opportunity to talk about it. So, but yeah, Hard Knocks. They go into detail. One of the flourishing receivers for the Browns is Antonio Callaway. He gets caught. He gets arrested for drug possession, marijuana possession. Gets in big time trouble, and Hugh Jackson, he gets on to him, getting after him, saying, hey, you need to prove yourself and stuff like that, and ends up making him play. I don't even know what kind of punishment this really is, but it's like, well, since you've done this, because you're only going to have so many snaps in the preseason game, he makes him play almost the entire game. That's a weird punishment to me. That's like telling a kid these days, go to your room. Like, what the hell's all in your room? You've got so much entertainment and distraction in your room. Oh, God, no, please don't send me to my room. But here's this guy. Okay, since you had marijuana possession and you got caught, and we don't want to see this behavior anymore, and I know you're really sorry, we want you to go ahead and play the majority of the preseason game now. You're going to have to do this. Oh, I'm sorry, Coach. Oh, God. Yes, man, I'm going to learn from my mistakes. He may genuinely be, he may turn around, but I just don't know that really works in parenting. I don't know if I'm the one to give any sort of credence on that, but I'm pretty certain you don't. If your kid's got the Xbox, the PS4, the Nintendo Switch, access to a tablet, and all these other things, I don't think that you ground him by sending him to his room. That seems weird to me. So that seems like a similar deal. Hey, you're in trouble. You're going to go play more of the preseason game than you originally were. But anyway, now because of the receiver situation, they do have quite a few. They end up getting rid of Corey Coleman. Corey Coleman kind of comes to a realization on the show that he's not going to be one of the guys. He's not up to snuff. He's not up to par. Basically comes into coach's office and demands to be traded and all this nonsense. And sure enough, they do. They trade him to the Bills for like $5 and a hand job. And well, maybe not even the hand job. I think it's just $5. But like maybe a tuna tuna sandwich. I don't know why I went with the tuna. But anyway, so Corey Coleman, he gets traded, goes to the Bills for nothing. Maybe he can get some play time there. The Browns are real, golly, for being the losingest team. Like, they are getting so much promotion, and I'm totally getting, I'm getting like pulled in, reined in on this whole thing. I'm watching. I'm interested. I'm not even a Browns fan, but I'm interested in the Browns. Obviously, I'm interested in Baker Mayfield. He's from the University of Oklahoma, and I'm absolutely loving it. But, man, I cannot believe the press the Cleveland Browns are getting right now. This has got to be the greatest press from being a losing team of all time, because we normally don't care. and you know what I think it is? I think it's the anticipation of the turnaround, the potential turnaround. It's the anticipation of this team was absolute ass, and they could completely turn it around and be decent. And we want to see what that looks like. We want to see how improved they could possibly be this year with all things said and done. So it's going to be interesting because Baker Mayfield looks really good. They do have an issue on their hands. I know Tyrod, or it's come out now, maybe Tyrod. I know that he's looked really good and that he's already been projected as a starter. But they got like a little something coming up here that they're going to have to figure out quarterback-wise. Because Baker looks like he's ready to go ahead and start in the NFL. He's going to make his rookie mistakes, don't get me wrong, but he looks like he's ready to go. So, but Tyrod, I don't know if you heard about this. They had the preseason game, NFL Network. They put out this memo, and that it was this whole deal, this quote-unquote controversy, that we've all been saying Tyrod Taylor's name wrong all these years, all this time, and he's been, he's been too nice to correct anyone this whole time. But yeah, it's not Tyrod, it's Tyrod. And so in the preseason game, they pronounced his name as Tyrod during the game. So it was ridiculous to me. It's kind of I don't know. I put up a thing on social media. For some reason, it took me back to the movie Young Frankenstein, when he's like, "Hey, yeah, you're Frankenstein." He's like, "It's Frankenstein." It's like, no, it's Frankenstein. No, and he's getting mad at Frankenstein. He's like, well, then my name's Igor. No, it's Igor. No, it's not. It's Igor. And you're just like, okay, here we go. So that's why I put it. I was just like, it's not Igor, it's Igor. Tomato. Let's call the whole thing off. I mean, if he wants to be called Tyrod with a Y, then we'll call him Tyrod, out of respect. That's just funny to me. If it's a Y, you got Tyrone. and you got Tyrod. It just seems the same. Anyway, gosh, some people just ignore English altogether with some of these things. We've got a local dealership. They call themselves Knippelmeyer Chevrolet. It's K-N-I-P-P. And let's just face it, I don't know anywhere in the English language where the K and the N come together and you say Kna. It's nipple. If you don't want your name, if you don't want to be called Nippelmeyer or the Nipples or whatever, if you don't want to be called Nippelmeyer, then legally change your last name. I don't know. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, don't sit there and try to, you're just slapping paint on dog shit or something. It's Knippelmeyer Chevrolet or whatever. No, it's Nipple. Okay, it's just Nipple. Just go with it. It's Nipple. All right? Suck on the teat and get a car from Nippelmeyer. Anyway, so that's my little left turn there. Had some chode discussion this week. I thought, okay, from riding a bike, every now and then I ride a bike to try to lose weight, and I actually enjoy that exercise. But something riding, one of the first things you got to deal with, other than your legs being sore and stuff, is that seat is riding right up into your chode. And I don't know. You know what? I may hold off. I may discuss this with the guys next week. But chode, I thought, is the area between your nuts and your butthole. Just that part there. I thought that was the chode. Somebody had come out and said, no, it's this. And I just want to see their perspective. We'll have a chode discussion next week if we have time. So Serena Williams this week, interestingly enough, I didn't realize Serena Williams owned a minority stake in the Miami Dolphins. But Serena Williams does, and she was asked about Colin Kaepernick, which keeps coming up. She was asked about him, and she just came right out and said that Colin Kaepernick if Colin Kaepernick was brought onto an NFL team as a starting quarterback, that they would win the Super Bowl. Not could. Sometimes it's semantics. I don't know, but he said would win a Super Bowl. That seems a little silly to me. Because it's like, what do you base that? I mean, anthem aside and all that stuff that just keeps coming up. All that aside, what out there tells you that that's even a possibility? Like he made it to the Super Bowl with the 49ers the one time, but they lost the game, and then they didn't make it back since. And that was even before the anthem stuff. So I don't know. I don't know what makes her say, he would definitely. She didn't use the word definitely, but that he would win a Super Bowl. And I don't know if she's trying to campaign for him to go to the Dolphins, because the Dolphins right now are pretty desperate at quarterback. Maybe that's what that's all about. I mean, Tannehill. I mean, if they haven't realized yet that Tannehill's not the quarterback, I don't know what. Maybe they just don't know what they're doing down there in Miami. It looks like they haven't made right moves in a long, long time, it seems. But they do need a quarterback, and Kaepernick's there. But she also went on to say that she doesn't believe that any of the teams will bring him on. So at least she's kind of open to realizing that. I mean, but she's also she had said that basically Kaepernick, he's got so much to prove, and gave it from her perspective, said I can't imagine he would be any different, that from his perspective, that he's, he would be saying, I'm about to show out, you're going to see some stuff you never seen before. But I don't know. That seems goofy to me. Right now, Colin Kaepernick, he's filed a collusion grievance against the league, basically saying the owners have all come together and have just decided, hey, none of us are going to take him back, that kind of deal. So you got the lawsuit going on and all that stuff. And then, of course, this week, along with that, you had John Elway come out and say, hey, we offered him a contract and he turned us down. So, yeah, some of that is about context and timing. It sounds like that after the fact that they offered him a contract and he just didn't take it or whatever after all the anthem stuff and not being able to find a job. But that's not really the case. The timing was he was still looking for the bigger contract while he was quarterback for the 49ers. And he's looking to move it's a business. He's looking to move on to that next big deal. And the Broncos, I don't at that time, and that's just looking at his capabilities. The Broncos were just looking at it like, we want you, but we don't think you're worth what you're wanting. And so they offered this. Kaepernick turned him down, and then the anthem stuff goes down, and now he can't get a job, and bada bing, bada boom, we're where we're at. So Elway saying, hey, because he was asked about it, because let's just face it right now, the Broncos are facing some big-time quarterback problems. I mean, they are facing some big-time quarterback problems. Not to mention they already had, they offer him they don't want to over-offer a contract. They already made that mistake with Brock Osweiler. I don't know if you remember that. They brought on Brock Osweiler. He was supposed to be the next big thing while Peyton Manning was there. They win the Super Bowl with Peyton Manning and Brock Osweiler as the backup, but really it was that defense, of course, and because Peyton was throwing some lame ducks at that point. And they figured, okay, Brock is the next man. They give him like this $70 million deal, and he flakes. I mean, he was terrible. And then he bounced from team to team. He kept somehow getting these contracts, and now I couldn't even tell you where Brock Osweiler is to this day right now. So just to just to say where that's gone. But so the Broncos, I'm sure, are looking at that mistake and going, well, we don't want to make that mistake again. We don't want to overpay for a quarterback. But but at the end of the day, it hasn't helped them much, to be honest, because they ended up picking. They still, you would think. I thought the Broncos were smart, and there's times where they look like they're smart. And even with Elway, Elway looks like he's pretty smart a lot of times. But the fact is, they did screw up on Osweiler. They got it wrong with him. There's no way around it. Then they drafted Paxton Lynch. And they thought, he's got the big, tall build, and he's the next quarterback. He hasn't panned out for shit. This preseason, it's only been just that more obvious. They pick up Case Keenum from the Vikings, which that was an opportunistic deal. But everybody if you're just watching with the eye test, you could tell that there's just throws that Case Keenum can't make. He's limited. There's a reason he was a journeyman backup in the NFL for a long time until last year when the Vikings had all of their quarterbacks hurt. And it's like, well, it's Case Keenum or the water boy. And, so Case Keenum goes out. They're winning because their defense is so good. And they've got great skill players. And they went about as far as they could with what they got. That's why they gave Kirk Cousins so much money. So the Broncos try to hop on that opportunity. Well, we are desperate for a quarterback, and that Case Keenum guy, we have a good defense still in Denver, even though we gave some players away. And I think he can get us pretty far. Case Keenum has sucked in the preseason. Paxton Lynch, even worse than Case Keenum, to the point where the Broncos fans were chanting Chad Kelly in the stands. Chad Kelly was one of the, I don't know if you heard the show Last Chance U, but he was a guy that was with Last Chance University or whatever and ended up with University of Mississippi. Chad Kelly. I think he even had a song made about him or whatever. Chad Kelly, Swag Kelly, or the guy is white. He's Swag Kelly. He's white. Anyway, but so the fans are chanting for Chad Kelly. Chad Kelly has gone out and actually played decent. Not great at all, but he's played decent. He played better than Paxton Lynch. So now Paxton Lynch, the first-round draft pick for the Broncos, what is that, 2 years ago? Who knows what's going to happen to that guy. He's probably going to end up, I don't know. I'm almost wanting to say he's going to get cut, but I don't know. With the way quarterbacks are right now, he could just hop around. Who knows? But it's real obvious that Case Keenum is not a great answer for the Broncos. Chad Kelly's really not a great answer for the Broncos. He's okay. He's better than Paxton Lynch, but that's not saying a whole hell of a lot right now. So I thought the Broncos were smarter. It just makes them look human right now with their decision making. They are really. They just keep putting out shit with quarterbacks. There's just no way around it. And their offense is going to be – that's why when we did our NFL show, I knew – that was the one thing I knew. I knew the Broncos have an okay defense and that they're going to be desperate to score. So I knew right then off the top Broncos are going to – they're going to suck. They're not going to be there at the top of their division. And so it's not going to be about that at all. And the Raiders, I can't trust the Raiders right now because you still got the stuff going on with Khalil Mack and John Gruden. They may end up – you shouldn't trade Khalil Mack. He's one of the top 5 defensive players in the entire league. But yet the way it's going, it may look like – I think Vegas put out odds that Khalil Mack had better odds of ending up in Green Bay than staying with the team he's at right now, which is the Raiders. That's pretty interesting and revealing. But that's dumb. I mean, the Raiders are not good defensively. That's one of the best 5 defensive players in the league, and you're going to potentially trade him or let him go? That just sounds pretty dumb to me. So that's why when we were doing our show, to me it just came down to 2 teams. It was between the Chiefs and the Chargers winning that division. I figured Drunk Tim and BS would probably go with the Chiefs being homers, but they really didn't, and I ended up going with the Chargers. So they went with the Raiders, but we'll see how that plays out. See if I know what I'm talking about, or if I'm, the aforementioned idiot that, just like we are. But the Colin Kaepernick stuff is crazy. I try to stay away from that stuff. It's gone on for years now. This thing has gone on for years. It's just surprising to me how long the Kaepernick stuff's gone on, how long just these quote-unquote scandals, the Deflategate went on forever, and all these things. It's just, good God, we got to let this go. Maybe there's a new scandal somewhere. Can we talk about it? But anyway, and with that, I will move on. I'll move on to this next segment, which is talking about my San Francisco Giants. I think I've stated it before in another show, but I'm a huge San Francisco Giants fan. Have been since early teenage years, even though I'm from Oklahoma. I could try to make sense of it to you, but it probably won't make sense to you. So I'm not going to go with that route. But I've been a Giants fan for many, many years. And the Giants did a nice thing for Barry Bonds. They retired his number 25 and had a full celebration, made a day of it. It was really, really nice. And right now you've got Barry Bonds has been eligible for the Hall of Fame, I believe, 2 or 3 years in a row now. And of course he's been bypassed. He has not been voted in. You have to have like 70. Man, I'm just off the top of my head. I think you have to have like 75% of the vote or somewhere around there, and he's not even around. I think he's not even around 50. He's around 40%. Baseball writers are really, with the steroid use and everything else, they really kind of feel like he tainted the sport with. I mean, let's just face it. That 2001 season that he had was it's tough for me to you take the steroids aside or the potential PEDs and all that. That 2001 season is statistically one of the most remarkable seasons ever for I was about to say a football player, a baseball player. That's where he breaks the single season home run record, hits 70 whatever home runs, he hits a ton of RBIs. He breaks the record for walks because he's either that I remember that season he was either getting walked or hitting home runs. There was like zero in between. The guy didn't hit for a lot of doubles that year or anything like that. It was a home run. A lot of guys nowadays it's home run or strikeout, and your strikeouts are way more than your home runs right now for the majority. But he would not strike out. He was getting walked or he was hitting home runs, and it was a show. It was absolutely amazing. But it does feel a little tainted as a, growing up baseball. I feel like I'm in between all that. I'm not 100% purist, but I do it's very difficult for me because you can make arguments to different things. You could say Babe Ruth never played against African American players, and he's got all his numbers. You could say you can't say it was alcohol. That was not a performance enhancer, but he was known to show up drunk. But I don't know. Bonds was going to be a Hall of Famer even before the steroid use. I know that for sure. That I don't think anybody really even questions that because before the alleged steroid use, the guy was a 30 home run, 30 stolen bases, multiple RBI guy. The guy did it all. He was a Gold Glover. He did it all. That's one of the things I loved about Willie Mays. Was he did it all. He was the ultimate defensive guy. He was also the home run guy. He was the stolen base guy. He was just amazing. And I just love Willie Mays in history. I really do. Well, for a while, I've been on the fence. I've been on the side of Bonds. I don't know. I figured Bonds, I just thought, I don't know if he belongs in. If he cheated, I don't know. But, Willie Mays came out during this retirement thing and said, I feel like Bonds should be in. And it's just one of those things. And and I'm very biased because I grew up, that was one of the players historically I've always loved was Willie Mays. That's one of my favorite all-time baseball players. And for me, if Willie Mays is coming out and saying Barry Bonds should be in the Hall of Fame, it's hard for me, guy from Oklahoma City that didn't play the game, that didn't play the game professionally or anything like that. It's hard for me to sit here and be like on some ivory tower or something and saying, nah, he shouldn't be in. I think if Willie Mays, it's just one of those things. If Willie Mays believes Bonds should be in the Hall of Fame, then damn it, I need to take a look at it and look at it like, Bonds should be in. The guy was one of the greatest players of all time. It is a little distorted because of the PED use. We don't know what the statistics would have fallen over. Maybe they would have been around King Griffey Jr.'s type numbers. And King Griffey Jr. is one of the all-time greats. He's right up there with his numbers. Bonds was just a better. I don't know. Actually, I feel like they're fairly similar, Griffey and Bonds. Bonds was just. I know that he and the media never got along, so that's already a problem. Kind of like the Terrell Owens stuff with his Hall of Fame stuff. You don't get along with the media, you make life a little more difficult for yourself later on in life. Learn your lesson, kids, right? But Bonds should definitely be in. It's one of those things. If he didn't take the PEDs, even though you could tell from his swollen head, you don't turn into a hot air balloon just for no reason. The guy, he looked crazy, and now that he's out of the game, amazingly enough, he's gone back down to size. Anyway, it's one of those things. He took the PEDs, but it's like if you did take that aside, you would have to say, yeah, he's the greatest player of all time. The guy's numbers are off the charts every single level, and anyway, so that's my Bonds thing. I think it's awesome what they did for him. They're in San Francisco, supporting him, kind of embracing him, putting arms around him. Maybe they sniffed his hair like Adams did with Greg Popovich. I don't think he has any hair though. He's bald, so maybe they just sniffed his bald head and got a big whiff. But they embraced him. It was really nice, and it was great for the city of San Francisco to do. And I think we should start seeing Barry Bonds in the Hall of Fame. They're probably going to hold out for Pete Rose for the rest of his life. It'd be sad is if Pete Rose is finally let into the Hall of Fame after he's passed or something like that. I think that would be sad. I just, again, there's another like right turn, but the Pete Rose stuff, as egregious as it was, betting against your own team while you're managing it, I'm on the fence on that too. I just think like if you're just never gonna put him in the Hall of Fame, then just never put him in the Hall of Fame. But if you actually are going to put him in the Hall of Fame, don't wait till he's passed to put him in the Hall of Fame, man. Don't put him in forever timeout. Like this is ridiculous. So, but I don't know. But like I said, next week we've got the college football preview. Hopefully we're going to have both Drunk Tim and BS here. We better, otherwise I'm going to grab a homeless guy outside of the On the Border studio here, and we're going to talk, and you don't know what's going to come out of that dude's mouth. So, I mean, literally, too. Like, never mind. Anyway, I won't go there. But next week, college football preview, we're going to talk it up. We'll talk the major conferences. We don't care about the smaller conferences. We don't. But we'll talk it up next week. It was fun being able to do another show this week. I'm Chance Delfuego. This is Two Idiots Talk Sports. You all have a fantastic week. Thanks for listening.
Have you ever felt like shutting the fuck up?
Well, I'm out, man.